And then over time, the name Gumby came in the picture. About a year later, I was working at the 24s on Glenway as a six man. And in my pockets, in the fatigue pants, I always kept the alcohol prep pads. A lot of guys over time call them Mexican bath towels because I always use them to get the soot off my ears and my head after all the soot, being in
Okay.
fire. So I'd carry these alcohol prep pads in my fatigue pants. And in a particular July hot morning, I was getting ready to go in the firehouse. And on the dashboard of my car, which it was a Chevette back then, Chevrolet Chevette, I call it a welfare vet. It wasn't a Corvette.
Okay.
Is what I could afford. So my welfare vet, I took the little Gumby figure that I had on my dashboard and took it off the dashboard and put it in my pocket. So it wouldn't end up melting on the dashboard by the time I got off duty the next day.
Okay.
So I had a little Gumby figure in my fatigue pants along with my alcohol prep pads. And unbeknownst to me, I forgot the Gumby was in there.
Attention all units. Stand by for special assignment. Responders, Mo Vassar and Don Roper. You are requested to report to the microphone. This is Firehouse Chronicles. Proceed when ready.
We used to run try the flame. Now we just let our coffee slow. You wink like you've got secrets only chaos used to know. And I laugh like I believe you, though your stories grow and grow. We used to run try the flame.
And welcome to the Firehouse Chronicles. I'm Maurice Vassar. That's my co-host, Don Roper. We're retired firefighters, 33 years on the force, and today we have a guest that is so famous, so renowned, he goes by one name, Gumby. William Gumby Donovan. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hello, guys. Always a pleasure.
Welcome to the
Bringing up
show.
old times. Yeah,
Will
I
you
appreciate it.
please tell our audience, because I did some research on you. You are on the internet, and I know that you're instrumental with the Cincinnati Fire Museum, and you got other interests too. Could you just tell our audience who you are in relation to the fire department and what brought you to the fire department?
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to be brief, but I'll try. Yes, the fire department. Basically, I'm found out about the fire department by a bus cruising through downtown years ago. I think it was probably right back down in 1982. It was, and they posted on side of this bus that hey, they're going to have taken exams, applications for fire recruit for Cincinnati Fire. Well, here it was. We received the literature in the mail, and it was scheduled for December 17th, 1983, at the convention center.
Okay.
40, 4,600 applicants, all housed in the convention center, all at probably 8 top tables. That whole floor was packed. I'm looking around the room. They're ready to take maybe 62 candidates. I thought, you know what? Why not? Spaghetti, throw it on the wall, see if it sticks.
It's
Absolutely.
the way it
I
works.
And I had no prior knowledge or experience in the world of EMS or fire. The only connection I had was I had a grandfather who was a fire chief in Binghamton, New York, kind of the neck of the woods where I'm from, upstate New York. Syracuse is where I was born. And to run fast forward, we end up moving. My dad was a chemical engineer. We moved south to Alabama, Florida, the panhandle of Florida, back and forth. Then we end up moving New York City to the Bronx, Manhattan, lived there for a short while. Then from there, we moved to Connecticut, Darien, Westport, Stamford, Connecticut. And from there, I basically went off to school when I graduated high school down to Florida for a year or two to get my grades up because I was partly not applying myself. But I got my grades up well enough in Florida at a college down there. Now it's a university. I transferred to Miami of Ohio up here in Oxford.
Okay.
And they had a good program, psychology program,
Is that what
something
you took?
relevant. That's why I graduated in psychology, a BA from
Oh,
Miami University in Oxford.
Yeah, I knew that.
And while working in restaurant, while going for my not graduate, but to graduate from college, I had to pay my way through school. So what I ended up doing was working in restaurants. That's how I got involved with restaurants. And then one thing led to another where I kind of like when I graduated from college, I thought, you know what, I'm going to pursue the culinary arts a little bit more in depth, which I end up getting into a program with fellow firefighter Donald Roper. We both happen to be in the same program, apprenticeship program here in Cincinnati.
Okay.
They had some night school at Cincinnati State, the theory part of it where you could take classroom. We took that. And in addition to that, we basically had on job training with a chef, with several chefs that had some credentials. One that we know of the best is Lucien Mathieu. He was a Belgian chef, French. He and his wife worked together, but he was kind of like the head honcho, the head teacher for us for Donald and sauces. That was Donald's wheelhouse is saucier sauces. Mine was more what they call garde manger, the cold food banquet kind of stuff. And together we worked as a team. Donald was over on the stove, the hot part. I was over in the cool section, which I enjoyed that in the hot summer days.
Definitely.
But when we did that for a few years, then the fire department came along, the opportunity, and that's where I now fast forward to the bus, how we saw the bus, and then we saw the job application possibilities. So we went ahead and took the exam. And then obviously for us, it was challenging for me anyways. I should have been on the same list. I was on the list with you guys, but I was
You was on
passed
the list with
over,
us, yeah, but you came in the second
politics.
class.
But I came in the second class of 85.
Yep.
And what happened in my case, in order to get to that class, I had to fight City Hall because they said I was too old. So fortunately, after back and forth and the city council members back then, I don't need to get in names, but if you want them, I have them. But the city council ended up voting 5-4 in my favor, and they put me back on the list. They gave me what they call an age notwithstanding waiver, which they pretty much just abolished the age requirement at that time.
Okay.
And that was back
They
in
did.
85.
They
And
did.
then basically what they end up doing is taking people who were above the 31 age limit at the time and basically made it up to 36 years old.
Yeah.
Back then, 36 was basically a civil service exam at the state level, Columbus. And I was kind of using that argument to kind of like to appeal, to impress on city council, say, hey, we need to change this up. It's a little antiquated, this age thing. People are living longer. People are more health conscious. So I was pretty much focused on that. And that's why I was fortunate to win the.
Did you spearhead that? Not mean to cut you off. Did you
Yes.
spearhead it? Okay.
Yes, actually, to this day, I have a portfolio, an album with all those news clippings and our fight with City Hall about the age requirement.
Because remember, our age was 31. Remember,
You were
Maurice?
31? You were 31?
No,
Yeah,
no.
see?
You couldn't be 31 before. If you got in the class, you couldn't turn 31 before you went to the class.
And
That
I
was
was
the
going
age.
to be too old by a month and a half.
Yep.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
They
remember, Maurice?
told-
That was 31 years old. You couldn't
do
be
remember that.
31 when you're in class. Yeah.
And they assured me that said, you're going to be on the next, you're going to be in the next class. Everything's good to go. Well, that changed up behind the scenes, whatever they were doing. But fortunately, I had my time at city council, got my 2-minute spiel, and there was a few council members who were very instrumental in helping me get to the next level, which was get back on that list.
Well, you can name their names. Who were they? Who helped you?
There was Ken Blackwell. Ken Blackwell, who's now working up state level, still got his hands in it. Former Xavier University basketball player. And there was actually Charlie Lucan. He was a mayor back then. And then there was Sally Fellerhoff and actually Arn Bortz. Arn Bortz was part of the Charterite crowd with
remember
Marion
now.
Spencer and Bobby Stern.
I remember
He
that.
actually voted, he actually did a silent vote in the chamber, which getting educated in the world of politics, they said a silent vote in the chamber is the same as a yes vote. I said, really? So based on Arn Bortz, he was a tiebreaker. He voted on my behalf to put me back on that list and said, hey, this guy's got an argument here. Said, let's go ahead and put him back on the list. And I said, thank you, Lord, man. So I had a breath of fresh air. I was like on life support, you might say. As far
Not
as,
mean to cut you off. Where were you before you came into the fire department? Weren't you at Western Hills Country Club?
actually, immediately before that was before I was working at the Islands restaurant, the infamous Shillings.
I know exactly where
No
it's at.
disrespect to the Shillings, but they had a reputation of burning stuff down. Beverly Hills. And
Yes.
even
Oh,
before
yeah.
that, it was
Yeah.
called the Lookout House,
Yep.
which is a restaurant over in Kentucky. And fortunately for me, I was able to break away from that profession, just like Donald there.
Absolutely.
We both saw the light at the end of the tunnel, you might say, or saw the opportunity to say, hey, this seems like a pretty rewarding career.
Yep.
Not putting down the culinary arts, that's a rewarding career too, but it didn't fit me anymore. I need to move on to something a little bit more substantial as far as I was in a family. I just got married. I had other priorities. It wasn't just myself. I couldn't travel all over the world. I wasn't that flexible. And here I had finally got an opportunity to get on in a profession that actually had a lot of stability, believe it or not. And so there, make a long story even shorter, I basically ended up making the cut. I got in the class of 85. And then obviously when I got in, the guys knew more about me than I knew about me because they already had the MO on me. They knew that I was in the culinary world, just like they know Donald was as well.
Right.
So they preferred us to be cooking more than going out and inspecting hydrants
Yeah.
or doing any type of work
Those are nice
outside.
perks when you wanted them,
Oh,
that's for sure.
oh yeah, especially when it's 10 degrees below zero and there's
Yes, sir.
snow and you're out in the elements for a minute. Your mustache, if you got it, turns to icicles.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, so that's where we ended up. And then over time, the name Gumby came in the picture. About a year later, I was working at the 24s on Glenway as a 6-man, and in my pockets in the fatigue pants, I always kept the alcohol prep pads. A lot of guys over time call them Mexican bath towels because I always used them to get the soot off my ears and my head after all the soot, being in fire. So I'd carry these alcohol prep pads in my fatigue pants. And in a particular July hot morning, I was getting ready to go into Firehouse. And on the dashboard of my car, which it was a Chevette back then, Chevrolet Chevette, I call it a welfare vet. It wasn't a Corvette. It was what I could afford. So my welfare vet, I took the little Gumby figure that I had on my dashboard and took it off the dashboard and put it in my pocket. So it wouldn't end up melting on the dashboard by the time I got off duty the next day.
Okay.
So I had a little Gumby figure in my fatigue pants along with my alcohol prep pads. And unbeknownst to me, I forgot the Gumby was in there. We make a run on a little girl earlier or later on that day. And the little girl had bilateral tib-fib fractures. Both her legs were broken. She was hit by a car laying in the middle of streets on Rapid Run and Glenway Avenue in Western Hills and Price Hill. And what ended up happening, at the time, the two medics that were on the unit in Rescue 24 was Clay Cornish and Joe, I can't remember his last name, but very laid back guy. Joe and Clay, we helped them up with the little girl. She was 9 years old, like I said, put her on the gurney, load her up in back of the rescue unit. As we were loading her up, them over on the side bench, assisting Clay Cornish and Joe with the getting her stabilized. We got her splinted. They're putting IVs in her. She's alert. And actually, believe it or not, she was in minimal pain from the exterior, from what we saw from the outside. Obviously, interior pain, no doubt. But she had the foresight. She was able to see what was going on around her. She was cognizant of what's going on. And I went scrambling for these alcohol prep pads out of my fatigue pants. When I was pulling out the alcohol prep pads, I pulled out the Gumby. Little Gumby figure. I'm like, I got my palm of my hand, I got some alcohol prep pads and a little Gumby. And the little girl saw the Gumby. And she said, what is that? I said, that's Gumby. She said, can I have that? I said, sure, you can have my Gumby. So I gave her the Gumby. And the medics both said, you're Gumby? And I said, yeah, I'm Gumby, damn it. It came from Gumby, damn it, from Eddie Murphy's Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I remember.
Gumby skit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a rekindle.
Yeah.
So ever since then, Gumby kind of stuck.
And
So
you started using it.
Yeah. So people probably don't know my real name. They just know me as Gumby. But like I tell people, it's not Gumby, the true Gumby, because I'm definitely not flexible like Gumby. No. I feel like
I always wondered how
Bernie
you got
Lomax
that name.
actually.
I
Yeah.
always wonder what the story was behind that name. That's a good story.
That was the birthplace of it, was on Glenway and Rapid Run back. That was in 1987, and
when did you know that I was in the class before you?
when we were in drill school. We were in drill school, and I look up at the driveway coming down. The ramp takes you into the drill yard. I
Right.
look up and I'm looking. I'm like, that looks familiar. I look closer and I'm like, Donald Roper, and you're wearing your fatigues. I'm like, you in the department too? I'm like, wow, small world. So we
Small
both had
world.
the same idea. Get out of the
Absolutely.
culinary business.
You got to tell our audience too, that hat, they might be wondering what's up with your hat.
Yeah, Rastafari. I am big reggae fan. You know, people wouldn't think it, but I love reggae. I love that type of. I like all kind of genres. It just depends on the mood. But I'm thinking, I'm going to wear this to bring back some memories of the old days because some people, especially Chiefs, I think it was Chief Tom Brago. I was at the 19s, and some of the other guys in what's his name, Ken Willsbach, one of the arson investigators and all. Just in my being silly humor, people
Right.
really didn't know where I was coming from half the time, which is fine. That's where the psychology comes into play.
That's what I was thinking too. That's the psychology part. But go ahead.
We'd make runs on these people, and after a while, you don't get callous or immune from it. You just kind of make light of it. Although it's
Definitely.
hardship for others, but it's a good diffuser, a good decompressor, you might say, to help release. But some of the chiefs include, like I mentioned before, Harvey Tom Brago. I was at the 19s.
Harvey Tomber was
and-
a stickler, man.
Oh, yeah.
He was a
And-
stiff neck, tight shirt dude.
Oh, he was. He's Mr. Straight,
Yep.
straighter than the arrow.
Yeah.
And with my humor, he's like, where's this clown coming from? And I was like, shocked for him, no doubt. He couldn't understand me. Neither could a lot of other people, but I was talking in tongues a lot. But there was a reason to my madness.
Right.
But yeah, as far as the word needle, I'd say needle, shoot 'em up, needle. Yeah, like I'm a real heroin addict or whatever. No, I don't shoot up. But
I
it was
remember you
like
used to
a
say that all the time.
deflection because the people, they to the point where they're actually serious about things. And then I try to make light of it to kind of get them off that serious train for a minute and let them know, yeah, this person's got a problem, but
Right.
it's not the end of the world. They can get help. Or, in the case of Chief Tom Brago, after a while, I think he kind of understood where I was coming from as far
Sure.
as my humor or my type of style. And,
Right.
but yeah, that's how the world of Gumbyisms, you might say, came along. I just accumulated those over the years. We'd make runs on people, and we call them frequent flyers, as you know. You make runs on them a lot.
Mhm.
And I always kept these ammonia inhalants
Oh yeah.
on the
Which are
dashboard.
banned now.
Are they?
They're banned in professional football. I don't know if they're banned in the fire department, but they're banned in professional football. You can't use them anymore.
No, really? I thought,
You remember they used to
yeah.
smell us
Yeah, I
out
remember.
on
They
I
were
just saw-
abused a lot.
I just saw U.S. hockey team guys passing around.
Yeah,
Some of those
NFL stopped
tablets
doing it.
get their head rattled.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't help but think that's not good for you. That's ammonia.
Yeah.
It's not good for burns
Well, they
the
would
lung.
take them and get several of them. Like if somebody was out and they felt like they were
faking.
faking it,
Oh
and
yeah.
they want to see
They
if you're really
cracking it, holding
faking
it
it,
over
and
their
they
nose.
stick it up to their
Yeah.
nose, and they would react. And that was an abuse of it, because sometimes
Oh.
the person really was out, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
just
Well, I
almost
can tell you
suffocating
one
them
thing:
with
if they
ammonia
weren't,
inhalants.
you wake up real quick if they were
Yeah.
faking.
Without a
Oh,
doubt.
yeah. And I was guilty. I'm guilty because I used that method a few times.
Oh,
And
yeah.
people,
was
especially
I
tough.
think
guys
we
who
all
were
did it one
familiar
time or
with.
another, or with the
And I'm
rubbing the
like,
chest, or the hand
yeah,
method.
the sternal rub.
Yeah, or the
I
hand
think that's,
method.
yeah. And these guys would make runs on. Once you got them up, or you made a run on them because they said their neck hurts or their back or whatever. And I'd always have a evolution. You know how when we first started out with the stroke study, Cincinnati was one of the first cities in the country, I think, if not the first, that did the stroke study. And it was spearheaded by UC's Dr. Sayers was his name. Dr. Sayers had a program. He was trying to get that. It was basically a pilot program, and we were kind of the guinea pigs as medics in the field. And I'd only been a medic a few years prior to this. And we make runs on these people. That's where the ammonia caplets came into play, where these people would be down in the street, You're like, okay, well, let's find out really quick if they're faking it or if they're just drunk or what. And a lot of times, once we got them on their feet, if they were just maybe lit, drank too much, or whatever the case may be, that would be a good determining factor of how quickly we need to respond to this person or address whatever's going on. And of course, with the stroke study, that was another thing that we'd use the caplets if they were like kind of like in a daze. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, their eyes are there, but you want to see if they can respond. Well, some of the people, whether they're doing a stroke study or they're alcohol or whatever, or drug induced, we get them on their feet, and or if they were complaining they can't move their shoulders or whatever, their arms locked up, we get there, and of course, I had a little evolution I have them go through to test them. Like with the stroke study, you say the sky is blue in Cincinnati, you close your eyes, you turn your hands upside down, do the Macarena, all that crazy stuff. Well, end up happening with the situation where we end up having these people actually talking with you, and you're spending a lot of time on this one patient who you know is a frequent flyer. So to kind of rule out any seriousness, I'd have them start one thing at a time. I said, start, can you do this? So I get them to do that. Okay. And then I have them do the figure eight. I said, can you do this?
No, I
Figure
know where
eight.
you're going with that. That's
Not
You
the
scary.
Stevie
do.
Wonder.
And I say, we are the world. I said, said, you're fine. You're good. The guys would be busting up laughing.
You
I
have the
couldn't help
patient.
it. Yeah.
Close
I
your
said,
eyes.
you're Stevie Wonder. We are the world. But yeah, so the
Okay.
dreadlocks, and well, this all comes into play, especially when I'm on vacation. Usually in southern climates, we go down to Pensacola a lot. My family, grandkids and all they're getting older now. And
Right.
I'm a tail of the Crips. I'm an older guy. And we'll be sitting on the beach watching the Blue Angels, the our naval
Yeah.
aviator ace
Right.
pilots. The air show is literally over the top of your head. They're that close. And we stay in a condo right on the beach, a little pricey, but it's worth it.
Mhm.
And of course, when I'm sitting on the beach, I'm in my garb. I'm in my Marley mode and just sitting there with different latitude, just trying to decompress, forget
Right.
all your troubles, and just look at the Gulf. You in the Gulf, I'm one and one, and it gets very spiritual. And I like a lot of Marley, his music, a lot of Ziggy Martin, all those guys,
Right.
Tosh, and you name it, Jimmy Cliff, because it's yeah,
S
it's revolution and all that. I
Mhm.
get it, but it's got some history and it's got a lot of meaning to me.
Does. Has a
I know,
spirituality to
Let
it.
me ask you a
yeah,
question
and I
before you.
know personally, living in Alabama during the early 60s, we lived in a little town called Demopolis, Alabama. It was
Mhm.
60 miles west of Selma, 100 miles west of Montgomery. And
Okay.
we lived down there. You talk about Mississippi burning. It was very turbulent. Our church was burned down by a bunch of whack-a-mole, KKK,
Mhm.
Cucamonga Club, whatever you want to call these wackos.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's about the time I learned how to use a shotgun. Was dad had a shotgun in our bedroom, in each one of our bedrooms, because we had threats because we were Catholic, we were white, and
Oh.
we weren't of the white power freak
Mhm.
club. And anybody associated with the church was considered uh, an adversary to them.
Yeah.
So on a couple occasions, my older brother said, "Hey, Billy, you got to be frosty here because these people are serious." And yeah, so we lived there until 64. And then dad, with his being a chemical engineer, found a job up in New York. And that's how we ended up moving north to get the heck out of that place because that was hot
Man.
zone. People were freaking out of their mind.
Yeah.
And also, we had a lot of black friends, and we were guilty by association because we associated with these guys.
Right.
And the other extreme whack-a-moles, as I call them, they couldn't see that. They were like so ate up. And
Yeah.
That's
so
Southern living, man.
All that
it
hate.
is. I
I've never
mean,
been exposed to that. I'm from the South. I'm from Augusta, Georgia,
oh, well, there you go.
and
That's
so
golf country. But
I
that's
can
it.
I
It's
can tell you some stories about that. But one thing I wanted to ask you a question about when we came to the into the fire department. It definitely changed our life. What's the most memorable thing you can remember that you appreciate about the Cincinnati Fire Department?
appreciate the camaraderie, to sum it up in one word, that's one of the things I gravitated: camaraderie and teamwork. I like the team philosophy, uh, and saving lives was very rewarding. And probably one of the biggest thing is the first time I ever was able to assist in a childbirth
Yep.
was
I did
really neat.
about 6
I'll
of
never.
those.
I did 13. The last two I did was twins. Unfortunately, one of the twins didn't survive. It was a stillborn.
Mhm.
But that was, those were probably the most memorable. Those were the happy times. The sad times, which I have memories of too, is when you lost people,
Mhm.
you know, to suicide, fires. Those were kind of the hard ones. I'll
Yeah.
never forget the one that sticks in my mind was up in English Woods. Maybe you guys, I was on the 12s that day. And I don't know if you guys made the runs as well, but we had made a run where apparently the parents or parent left three kids, and the kids apparently were age range, we were
I
told,
remember that. I didn't
I
make that run,
remember
but I
that one
remember
too.
that.
I didn't
Yeah.
make a run,
four,
but I remember that
four,
one.
4, 6, and 8. I think their ages were.
Right.
And I'll never forget,
Didn't
we
the man
found,
set it afire?
what's that?
Didn't the boyfriend set the house afire?
I don't know what the determination was. It was under investigation back in the day. I never knew what, I just thought it was negligence on the part. I don't know if it was a space heater or what, but these kids were trapped on the second floor.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
we found it was like pugilistic. You know how you saw the skeleton, how the meat was charred. I mean, there's meat. Their skin was charred. It looked
Mm,
like a chicken bone. It was bizarre. But I'm
Mhm.
yeah.
sitting there, and actually, the three kids were stacked on top of each other like playing piggyback, trying to get out of out of the window. They were like frozen in time. It was like freaky. That's one thing it's etched in my mind for the rest of my life.
Oh,
But that
definitely.
was probably one of the bummer times, not a happy time.
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
say, how did that impact you? Did it just that day, or did that impact you for a long period of time before you could even fathom what
Oh,
was going on?
for a while, when I say a while, probably a few weeks. And that's where I come into decompression mode or release mode, and I act a little silly and goofy. Those are my defense mechanisms to try to alleviate those stressors. That I'd consider was a stressor. And
Definitely.
that, and of course, being close to baby Jesus, 8 pounds, 6 ounce baby Jesus, the Lord, I find a lot of solitude and prayer,
Right.
and keeping close to the one that I respect, which is the Lord. I respect a lot of people, but I mean, in
Like,
this case, I
How
don't
did
lose
the
sight.
I remember going to a couple of fundraisers for you. How did the guys help you, assist you in your endeavors when you were not feeling well?
Actually, yeah. Actually, today marks 17 years, 7 months, and 2 days remission, a healing from
Congratulations.
from leukemia.
Yeah.
I had AML, acute myelogenous leukemia, which is probably one of the most aggressive, we were told,
Uh-huh.
cancers. I mean, it came out of nowhere. I wasn't a smoker. Yeah, I drank some, but not heavily. I worked out. I try to watch what I eat, and I wasn't
The salad
overweight.
man. I used to eat salads all the time.
It oh, yeah, I was like light
mhm,
eater, and
right.
Yeah.
I was, watching my girlish figure, I wanna be Gulliman, but no, I ended up with this cancer. It came out of nowhere. I was only retired from the fire department less than a year, and I just went into the doctor's office to see. I was having, like, a general sense of malaise where I wasn't really no pep in my step. I was feeling lethargic. Uh, my skin was like a pale ashen, which is a classic sign of poor perfusion. And my blood apparently wasn't clotting. I didn't know all this until I went in to get a, one morning. My wife, we were watching her mom. She was post op with gallbladder
Uh-huh.
surgery. So she was staying with us. I was in the back bedroom of our house shivering. I couldn't stop shivering. I mean, I was like, my teeth were going to break, shivering that much. So I ended up going ahead and my wife looked inside my throat. And you know how you have that little punching bag, the uvula in the
Uh-huh.
back of
Hmm.
your throat? That, along with several other little punching bags, were sticking down, just hanging down like stalagmites, stalactites that you would see in caverns. My wife looked at my throat And here it was, my body was bleeding internally like a hemophiliac, and I didn't even know it. Had I shaved or cut myself, I could
You
have
could have bled to
probably
death.
bled. So my wife immediately, we that was early in the morning, and even earlier that morning, she takes me to the Christ Hospital. Christ, within an hour of getting there, they did a blood test, and they came back with the test, and the ER doctor said, "Well, you have abnormal blast cells, blast like blast explosion, blast cells." Being a medic, I knew stuff, not enough to be a doctor, but I knew that didn't sound right. That didn't sound good. And like someone hit me with a 2x4. He said, "Mr. Donovan, you have leukemia." It's like my wife, she was shattered. She was trashed. She left the room crying.
I'm sure.
And I was sat there. And like if you ever seen a movie and how the vision of the film moves out and pans out and you're in this tunnel, that's how I felt. Everything seemed like so far away. Everything became silent. And I was just trying to assimilate, digest what the doctor just told me. It's like, is this for real? And I'm like, I was at the time, I was thinking I was 53 years old. And I'm like, oh, this. So they immediately said, we're going to do a bone marrow biopsy to determine what kind of leukemia this is so we can treat it accordingly. So they worked pretty quick with that. And then they established which type I had. There's like 8 subtypes. I had not the easiest to treat, but not the hardest. And they immediately said, we're going to ship you up. Well, you're going to drive up to, back then it was the Jewish Kenwood
Yeah, I
bone marrow.
remember I came to visit you when you were in
Yeah.
George.
Yeah, Jewish
Yeah,
Kenwood
I came to visit you. I was gonna
bone
say you
marrow
were
unit.
George Kenwood. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they within a day or two, they started pumping me with chemo. It's like, wow, I went through a week and a half of intense chemo. They call it an induction phase. And you could have shot me. I would have felt better. My hair hurt, my whole body hurt, and you couldn't even have the light on. My wife would draw the blinds, and she never left my side. You talk about, I've been very fortunate. My peas and carrots, my wife, Gail, she was instrumental along with the Lord, keeping me in the game, along with the doctors. But she did not leave my bedside for a minute. She basically at the time, she had a 12-pack of Corona Light. That was her beverage of choice. She'd have a bottle once a day for that. And she was there. She was like my wingman or wingwoman, whatever you want to call it these days. And she basically made sure that the nurses were on it. And of course, each day we went through this process. Now, this is something that's really, really deep. Whatever your beliefs are, it was on December 31st. Earlier that day, the doctor came in and said, yeah, it's December 31st of 2007. The doctor came in with the lemmings behind him, the residents all following like ducklings. They come in, they see the patient. I happen to be the next patient on the agenda. And he says, well, Mr. Donovan, you did the induction phase and it looks like we'll be prepping you. You're going to be okay. It looks like you responded. And my wife and I were all pumped. So what that meant is when our blood work comes back and starts recovering, then they're going to release us and put us on an outpatient for the next, in my case, a year that I had to take chemo on an outpatient basis. They give you a pump and you kind of administer it yourself. You do the IV and put it in the port. And so that day passed. Now, the room that I stayed in at bone marrow transplant unit up there at Jewish Kenwood, now it's Jewish Mercy Kenwood.
Yep.
They basically said, well, next morning we're going to come in and go from there. Well, the next morning, the doctors came in and he says, oh, Mr. Donovan, by the way, we're sorry, but you still have cancer. What? You talking about hit with a 2x4 again? It's like you're up, you're riding high. Next minute you get knocked down, and I feel the weight of the world on my shoulders. I am done. And my wife, she's in tears. She's shot. She's about beside herself. And the doctor said, well, Mr. Donovan, we'll probably have to send you through this phase again. We don't know how you're going to respond. We don't know the outcome. I'm like, at this time, I'm like at the bottom of the ninth inning, 2 outs, no men out, and you're down by 10 runs. It's crazy.
Yep.
Right.
But at that time, the doctor then prepped me for another bone marrow biopsy, which is no fun. They stick a trocar in your back of your back into your hip, and they aspirate, they draw out bone marrow, and then send it off to the lab. Well, they did that to confirm. Well, what they did, they confirmed before that I'd had the cancer. Well, that bone marrow that they took out, ready to take out that morning, the day before, I just go back. Yeah, that night, we're like trying to figure out what we're going to do. I said to my wife, you know where everything's at. And we got kind of talk about stuff we don't want to talk about, but it's reality now. We're kind of trying to figure out, okay, where everything's at, continue with your life. I guess it's the end of the road. It's a hard pill to swallow. I actually broke down and cried, to be truthful. I think even Chief Wright came in for a minute, I think, to visit or was going to visit. And I was in no mood for visitors. I think he came in for a minute and I just broke down crying and he got the message. He just left because I was trying to absorb what was just going on here.
Right.
And I wasn't in the hospitality mode at the time.
Yeah.
Anyways, later that day, my wife and I were sitting there. She has a rosary. She's saying the rosary by my bedside, and I'm getting geared up for the next round to see if I can survive. First round, you could have shot me. Like I said, I welcome getting shot. I felt that bad. And anyways, the later that night, we're sitting in bed. I'm sitting in bed. My wife's next to me in her tear-soaked eyes, and with the rosary in her hand, with a regular phone in front of her. And I'm looking around the room. It's 10:30 at night. The TV's on, but the audio's off. I'm just kind of staring at it. The room's dimly lit. There's a little Christmas tree over in the corner with well-wishers cards on the wall with emails and a little fire helmet the guys gave me. And I'm sitting in the bed, and my wife had said, "Do you mind if Father Caserta calls you and he wants to pray over you?" I said, "I'm willing to hear anything, hon. I'm running out of credits here, you might say." So soon after, Father Caserta calls us. And who Father Caserta was, he was a priest that married Gail and I back in 1980 at St. Lawrence Church in Price Hill.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And Father Caserta, he stood about 5'2", 120 pounds, soaking wet. But when he was around you, he exuded this presence of peace and tranquility. He was like so peaceful. He didn't push anything. He just his presence, because he was very spiritual, not like some of the weird stuff you see these days, but I could say, but Father Caserto's on the phone. My wife answers it. She hands me the phone, says, in her tear-soaked eyes, said, "Honey, this is Father Caserta." So I get the phone, and Father Caserta in his soft but strong voice says, "Bill," he didn't know me as Gumby. He said, "Bill, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray over you." I said, "Sure, Father, I'm all ears." So this is the intense part. As soon as he started to pray over me, and here again, it was 10:30 at night, room dimly lit, TV on, audio off, tree twinkling over in the corner, and the well-wishers cards adorning the walls. I'm sitting there, and as soon as he started to pray over me, I felt a warm sensation from my waist to my head, and it dissipated as quick as it came. But I felt the weight of the world off my shoulders. I felt really, really at peace come over
Right.
me. I wasn't levitating in bed. I
Right.
didn't hear voices. I didn't see an image on the wall. And I'm trying to being human. I'm trying to rationalize what just transpired here.
Mm-hmm.
And just being human, not a naysayer, but I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And so what happened after that, I looked at my wife. I got off the phone. I said, "Honey, I got to tell you what I just felt. What just transpired." So I tell her, and she looked at me and in her tear-soaked, peaceful, calming eyes and voice. She says, "You were just visited by the Holy Spirit." I said, "Wow, honey, that's deep." So what happens next? I go to sleep that night. Actually, believe it or not, I had a pretty peaceful sleep.
Okay.
And my wife, I think she slept okay too. So the next day, they prep me. They do another bone marrow biopsy. I felt like a pincushion by this time. And a couple days passes by. They come back with results. And the doctor again with the lemmings and the little ducklings behind him. And I'm like sitting there, my heart's beating through my chest, waiting for the results. And he said, "Well, Mr. Donovan, we cannot explain what happened, but your bone marrow's clean. You don't have any cancer." So I'll never forget January 4th, 2008.
That is
That
great.
day. So ever since then, and I had to get more bone marrow biopsies. I had to go through the whole regimen of chemo for the next year. Came back normal, came back negative, which is a good thing. You don't want your bone marrow to have any cells in it, nasty cells, cancer cells. So it came back. And then on July 23rd, 2008, they said, "Well, your bone marrow's clean. You're good to go." So now every 6 months I go back for my checkups, which is a drum roll, believe it or not. It's something you never get used to, but
Every 6 months since
every
'08,
six
you've been
months
doing
I
that.
get
Okay.
checked,
All righty.
check your blood work. But ever since then, that was a healing that I
And it
accept
definitely
to this
causes you
day.
anxiety every 6 months, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. I mean, I
I'm
try
sure
to
it does.
keep a poker face, but my peas and carrots. My
Right.
wife, she's on it. You know how your better half is sitting there. They know your every move,
Oh
your
yeah.
Mhm.
idiosyncrasies, and I got a lot of them. But yeah, with that, so here we are. Fast forward to today, 17 years, 7 months, 2 days, and I give thanks every day. I always have, but this kicked it up several notches, and I just, the hard part for me nowadays is I'll have those moments where I have like a guilt complex where I
Mhm,
think, why me and not the 26-year-old, which you build up a relationship with a lot of these people when you're going through this process of chemo and getting
mhm,
chemo. You got IVs sticking out of every orifice of your body, and
Right.
you build up friendships because you're sitting side by side in a room where everybody's getting blood, plasma, getting platelets, and you just build up a kind of uh, you got something common ground to talk about.
mhm.
Yeah.
Now it's pleasant, but everybody leans on each other for some support.
Everybody's trying to survive.
Yeah, and that's what it was or is. So, yeah, as far as my situation to this day, I see people going down that journey, down that road. I can empathize totally.
You sure can.
I'll
How did the
always
fire
tell
department help you? How did
how
the
did the
fire
fire
department
department with the
help you?
guys? Yeah, to
Yes.
answer that question, hour ago, was the guys all stepped up. I mean, everybody it was very awkward because I was always on the other side trying to help out others. And
Mhm,
now I'm being the receiving end was definitely awkward. And it felt like, yeah, awkward. Guys come in there, come in the house, clean the gutters, go out, get groceries, cut the grass, take care of the yard, all the stuff that I wasn't really allowed to do because the immune system's taking a hit
mhm,
because you can't fight infection. You're kind of like in a bubble.
Right.
And the moral support was off the hook. My wife even said, a lot of the guys, they're first to bust your chops, but they're also first to help out when things were down and out. And we were at that point where things were very bleak. And like I said, with the strength of the Lord, my peas and carrots, my wife, family, friends, firefighters, and the doctors, they've kept me in the game. And uh, yeah, I would not probably gotten the same response or support had I been in the private sector,
Right.
where you didn't have this brotherhood or sisterhood,
Yeah.
uh, because they had fundraisers even after that, because we had uh, and the meter's still running. We had bills to pay.
Mhm.
I had probably 256,000 saved up in a deferred comp, and unfortunately, I wasn't in the drop program because I was retired before I could get into it because of the
What year did
back.
you retire?
Right.
2006,
Okay.
February 3rd of 2006.
Mhm.
So over 20 years now, and they had basically the deferred comp was pretty much our piggy bank because I
Yeah.
couldn't work for almost 2 years. And they just had you in a bubble and you're spending all your time in the hospital. We'd spend 8 hours a day
Did you
back and
have your
forth.
25 years?
No, just 21, just under
Okay.
21. Yeah. I tried to go a little longer, but At the
Yeah,
time,
true.
Texter said no. I'm like,
Yeah.
thanks, Ron. But I said, I only used one sick time my whole career. It's like, I'm like, but it was unfortunate for me in that respect, but we managed. And of course, with all the support that we got from the firefighters and friends and family, we were able, and even in the chili world, these people had fundraisers for us. They had a fundraiser for me and that I couldn't attend one of probably the best parties ever, I heard.
Yeah. I know. I went to one of your fundraisers out in the western side of town.
Yeah.
I can't remember
What?
when or where, but I came out there. I think you were there.
Oh, was I there? Okay, because the Cheviot Field House is where they had a big one. They
Yeah,
raised
I was there. Were you there?
No, I was not there.
No,
That
you
was
weren't
on
there.
March. I think it was March
Yeah,
1st.
I came to that one.
Okay, they said that was huge.
It was packed.
They raised close to $42,000 in one night.
I believe it.
Wow. 42 grand. I'm like, really? Jeez.
I
But it
believe it.
was people coming out of the woodwork. I was really surprised and blessed to have that type of
That
friendship.
camaraderie that you mentioned is
Yeah,
real. I mean,
it
you're
is.
walking evidence. It's just real. And that's something, like you were saying, in the private sector, just another job, a standard 8 to 5 job. You get to be friends with people. But when you live in the same house under those kind of conditions, emergencies in your life,
Mhm.
life or death situations, you build bonds that are just like family. And in some cases, even stronger than family.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. Like I said, we wouldn't have that luxury in the private
We
sector.
wouldn't. No way,
And I'm gonna
Jose.
tell you, not everyone is going to receive the support and the backing that you had as well.
Well, you get
Oh,
what you
yeah.
give. And
Yep.
because
Right.
Gumby always, because, I would travel through your house up at the Sevens
Yeah.
when I was a
Yeah.
traveling officer, and you kind of set the tone in the firehouse, through your humor. You would try to kind of set, a relaxed atmosphere or make a person feel at
Mhm.
home. And
Yeah.
people knew they would talk about, and then you could cook real well. Maybe that was the real reason. The food was good. So I
That
don't
didn't
know
hurt,
which it was.
did
Maybe it
it, Gumby?
wasn't your humor, but that kind of spreads out the fire department. So, people, they have a kinship with you. They feel, so when you needed help, yeah, you got a lot of help, and
Oh,
maybe
did.
other people wouldn't got quite as much, but it is a brotherhood. It's great to hear stories like that.
Oh,
Definitely.
it is.
Yeah.
And the thing is, bottom line, whatever your belief or philosophy is just treat others how you want to be treated.
Period.
Absolutely.
It's
And
that easy. Yes.
yeah, it's simple. It
Being
doesn't have
kind
to
to
be
one
so
another doesn't have
complicated.
a barrier, a color barrier.
Right.
Right.
Treat others
Exactly.
like
It
you like to be
shouldn't.
treated. Yep.
Yeah. And
Right.
that's the big thing. We're colorblind here, people. But
Yeah.
some people aren't. Sorry about their
This is
luck.
the
But
real
yeah,
life. That's how it was.
it
Remember, we
is.
used to go bowling after we
Yeah.
cooked and worked. We were bowling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Where
What
would you
was?
go? Princeton Bowl? Not Princeton
We went
Bowl.
to
It was the one on
Madison Bowl.
Oakley, Madison Bowl.
Madison
Yeah.
All
Bowl.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
After we
Madison
got through
Road.
working, we go Madison
Yeah.
Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate all the information, man. That's a fascinating story and journey you
Definitely.
went through, and just the personal challenges that you had to face. And then what felt like, I'm sure to you, felt like a miracle, my brother. I'm
Oh,
sure it
yeah.
felt that way. And we appreciate you sharing that. That was upbuilding. And now I know why they call you Gumby. So I can call you Gumby and know what I'm talking about now.
I'm
Yeah.
still gonna
And
call you Willie D, though. I'm calling you
Willie
Willie
D,
D.
always be Willie D. But
That's
yeah,
right.
the big two, another miracle is my peas and carrots. My wife,
Your
Gail,
peas and
had she not
carrots.
been in the picture, it'd been a whole
Okay.
different animal.
Yeah.
The outcome would probably been,
We can tell stories about our chef Lucian.
man, he whack-a-mole.
He was, but you know what he did?
He was
He taught
good.
us well.
Yeah, he did.
He taught, I mean, from the very beginning, how to hold a knife, how to use a knife, a skillet, how the dishwasher wasn't just a dishwasher. He had to bread all the food clean.
Oh, yeah.
He would call us, you remember he used to call us criminals. If you drop something on
Yeah.
the floor, he said, somebody committed a crime.
Yeah, oh, yeah. It's been a crime.
And he
Been a
was
crime that's
mean
been
too, man.
committed.
But I tell you, we learned so. When I went to Kenwood Country Club, you went to Western Hills Country Club.
Yep.
You know what he told us? He said, you walk in the door, you look around in the kitchen, and you go take your hand like this and go dust,
Yeah.
because
Right.
nobody could do
Right.
anything with you because you were taught the right way, and he was
Oh,
correct.
yeah. Oh, he was.
He was
We're,
correct.
we
Yeah,
were paid well relative back then, okay. And
we
not as
worked
good as
6
fire
days a
department.
week.
Yeah, we were like, oh
We
man,
worked
talk
like
about beating to
Hebrew
death.
slaves, brother, 6 days a
Oh,
week.
yeah, it's like you had one day off to do all your duties one day and recover.
Yeah.
Just gear up for
Country
6
club, you only
days.
had off Monday. We were only off on Mondays at the country
Yeah,
clubs.
yeah, yeah. Monday's here too.
I don't miss
Well,
that either.
no, like a
Well, I'm
herpy.
glad,
But
I'm
yeah.
glad to hear you country club brothers, you.
Oh, yeah. Well, we weren't members.
No, we weren't members, but for sure, I wasn't a member at Kenwood.
No, no. I was a peon. I was peasant.
Yeah,
I
I
was
feel you.
down the food chain.
We're going to
That's
wrap it
freaking,
up
but
here
yeah.
to Firehouse
But yeah, I
Chronicles.
always feel like, nowadays too, we're getting older, your body feels like Rice Krispies in the morning without the milk.
Oh,
And
yeah.
let
Snap,
snap,
crackle,
crackle,
pop.
pop. Or
Yes.
I tell people I feel like Bernie Lomax from Weekend at Bernie's, how I feel like
That's
sometimes.
right.
Well, I want to remind everybody to like and subscribe. And if you have a story that you'd like to share with us, feel free to hit us up in the comments or hit us with an email. And that man there is Gumby, Don Roper, and me, Maurice, and we're signing off. Any last words, gents?
Just keep up the good work. Appreciate you, Gumby, coming on. Leave comments, subscribe, like, and if you got a good story, let us know.
All
Stay
righty.
blessed, stay blessed and vertical, and just know that I'm computer challenged. I'm an 8-track guy.
What
Stay
about
blessed.
fluid? What about
All right.
fluid? Keep
Oh
fluid?
yeah, I try to stay fluid, more like Bernie Lomax from Weekend
All
at Bernie's.
Stay fluid. See you next time.
Later, brother.
Ciao.
Peace.
Bye-bye.